Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is December 17th, 2023, and it's reported that the Super League could save FC Barcelona. Also, the club have started negotiations for Lucas Bergvall, and finally, Joshua Kimmich has fired his agent, and that could be good news for Barcelona. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and as I've mentioned many times before, I'm currently out of the country on vacation for the holidays, so I haven't been making daily videos, and I do apologize for that. But instead, I will be making these short live streams to keep you updated on Barcelona news whenever I can. Now, having said that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the Kickback, where they're currently having an end of the year sale. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you hit the Bet Us, where they do have special offers for all new signups. Both links for Kickback and Bet Us are down below in the description. Now let's start with a brief discussion of yesterday's match between Barcelona and Valencia, where once again the team gave us a disappointing performance, which ended in a disappointing result, with Barcelona drawing 1-1 against a very mediocre Valencia, and with Barcelona dropping more points. Now, I've said many times before that Xavi Hernandez is not doing a good job as Barcelona's coach, that after 2 years, we still don't have an identity. We still don't have a system of play. We still don't have mechanisms in place. So Xavi is to blame for Barcelona's mishaps. But I've also said that Xavi is not the only one to blame in the way Barcelona are performing, that the players are also to blame. And yesterday was a perfect example of that. Now, even though people want to blame everything on Xavi, I think in yesterday's match, Xavi Hernandez could left the match blameless, because unlike the match against Girona, where it was obvious that Mitchell's tactics were much more superior to Xavi's and that Xavi was overwhelmed and did not know how to respond, I don't think this time Xavi did anything wrong. I think Xavi had the right tactics, or right strategy, the right lineup in place, but it was the players who failed us. And this goes to show that, again, it's not just a Xavi problem. It's also the players, because we have a team full of players who are either not good enough to be Barcelona players, who are not up to par, or who simply don't care, or they don't show the passion or dedication to the team. And that was very, very evident in yesterday's match. We have a team with players like Rafinha, who is extremely subpar, who cannot dribble past his own shadow, who does not have Barcelona level, or the level to be a Barcelona player. We have a team with players like Joao Felix, who gives us one great performance and then disappears for 10 matches. We have players like Lewandowski, who continue to miss important chances that he gets. We have players like Ferran Torres, who, even though he is a decent player, he's not Barcelona level. We have players like İlkay Gundogan, who, yes, he is great in the midfield. He's great in the build-up. He's great making those runs to the boxes, but continues to miss very clear chances to score. We have players like Joao Cancelo, who, yes, he is great in the offense. He is great taking advantage of the wings, but is a defensive liability and a lot of times loses concentration. We have players like Jules Koundé, who, seriously, I don't know what happened to him. He was a great center back, one of the best center backs in Europe last season. Now he's very slow. He continues to miss tackles. He continues to miss time plays. I don't know what's happening. And we have, of course, players like Balde, who I don't want to say anything bad about him because he's still young. He's very talented, but he is in bad form. And that just goes to show that players like that, we have a team full of players who simply are not living up to their potential, or simply are not good enough. And Barcelona need to do a full house cleaning, not just on the management level, but also at the player level. We need to return Joao Felix to Atletico de Madrid. We need to sell Rafinha. We need to sell Ferran Torres. We need to sell Jules Koundé. We need to bench Lewandowski. We need to promote people like Héctor Fort to compete with Joao Cancelo on the right wing. We need to bring back Alex Baye to compete with Alejandro Balde on the left back. We need to promote people like Kubarsi and Miko Faye to compete for the center back positions. We need to give the youngsters more opportunities, youngsters like Fermin Lopez, like Margiu, who as soon as they hit the field, they play their heart out. They play with so much passion. They want to prove themselves. They want a team to win versus having players like Frankie de Jong, like Robert Lewandowski, who act like they're doing us a favor when they're the ones who are getting paid millions and millions of euros to show us their worth. So this is definitely a big problem. This is an institutional problem. This is a crisis that Barcelona are going through because, again, this is not just Xavi. These are also the players who are failing us time and time again. And once again, Barcelona have dropped points, and now we're getting further and further from the top of La Liga. And I honestly don't see us winning any trophies, which is a big problem, not only sporting-wise, but also economically speaking, because this does affect us economically in a time where Barcelona are having very difficult financial situation. Now, speaking of the club's finances, let's dive right into the news because it's being reported that the Super League could end up saving Barcelona financially speaking. If you don't know what the Super League is, I've talked about it a lot in my channel this past year or year and a half. The Super League is a proposed league that would be made up of 20 teams, of the 20 best teams of Europe. The top 12 would qualify automatically, which are the best teams from each league. For example, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid from Spain. The 6 top teams from the Premier League, AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus from Serie A, PSG from France, etc. The first 12 teams would qualify every season, which are the best 12 teams from all the top leagues. And the other 8 would qualify based on some kind of promotion or some kind of playoffs. And this would be a yearly league where, again, the top 20 teams would face each other. And this would be separate from UEFA and FIFA. This was initially proposed by the 12 best teams of Europe, but then UEFA threatened to kick everyone who was trying to start the Super League out of the Champions League. So everybody withdrew except for Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Juventus. And eventually Juventus withdrew. So now only Real Madrid and Barcelona are still the 2 clubs who are trying to found or trying to start this league, the 2 founding clubs. And while we have an important date coming up, which is December 21st, that's when the highest court in Europe will rule whether the Super League will be allowed to exist or not. They're pretty much ruling on whether UEFA and FIFA have a monopoly over football. If they rule that they don't, that means that other teams could start their own leagues in competition to UEFA and FIFA. So if the court rules in favor of the Super League would be able to launch. And again, this ruling is set to be given on December 21st. Now, why could the Super League save Barcelona? Well, it's reported that if the Super League does launch, Barcelona would receive 1 billion euros. Yes, you heard that correctly. Barcelona would get 1 billion euros if the Super League is launched. And on top of that, Barcelona would get a bonus for being one of the founding clubs and for being one of the clubs who has stayed until the end while the other clubs ran for their lives. So 1 billion euros Barcelona would receive, and this would completely solve all of Barcelona's financial problems. Barcelona would be able to pay their debts. Barcelona would be able to go to the one-to-one rule as far as signings. Barcelona would be able to sign big players. Barcelona would be able to compete with other clubs in the transfer market. So this will be a huge thing for Barcelona. And again, we will find out on December 21st on whether the Super League will be able to launch or the Barcelona will be able to be saved financially pretty much overnight. Now, more news, speaking of the transfer market, but it's reported that Barcelona have started negotiations to sign the Swedish sensation, Lucas Bergvall. I mentioned Lucas Bergvall in a previous video. Barcelona were tracking him. He's a 17-year-old center midfielder. Again, Swedish player. He currently plays in the Swedish league. He has a lot of potential. Barcelona have been tracking him for quite some time. There's a lot of positive reports from Barcelona scouts. And well, it seems that now Barcelona have moved from the phase of tracking the player to actually wanting to sign him. And it's reported that Barcelona have begun negotiations to sign Lucas Bergvall. Now, there are plenty of European clubs after this youngster who are interested in signing him, but it is reported that Lucas Bergvall actually wants Barcelona, that he would like to play in Barcelona. So that's, of course, a huge deal for Barcelona, because that gives us a huge plus or a big advantage over the other clubs who are trying to sign Lucas Bergvall and who could offer more money than what Barcelona can. But it is important that Bergvall wants to come to Barcelona. This is part of the whole Deco plan to try to sign players, young players, before they hit their stardom, before they become super expensive. And Lucas Bergvall seems to be one of those players that Barcelona have identified as a player with a lot of potential who can eventually become a big star. Barcelona want to sign him now while his price is still low, before he becomes a star and his price explodes. Now, speaking of stars, and this will be the last bit of news, but let's talk about Joshua Kimmich, who has reportedly fired his agent and now is in the market to look for a new agent to represent him. Now, why is this important? Well, usually when players fire their agents and look for new ones is because there's two things. They're either trying to renegotiate their contract with their current club, or number two, because they want to look for a new club. So there's two possibilities here. However, German media usually are very right about what they report. It's not a media that likes to post, fake news or sensational headlines. German media has been very accurate about the things they post as far as their football players. But German media are reporting that the reason Joshua Kimmich is looking for a new agent is not to renegotiate his contract with Bayern Munich, but instead because he is looking to leave the Bundesliga club. And this again would favor Barcelona, because Barcelona would want to sign Joshua Kimmich in case the German player decides to leave Bayern Munich, because that would force Bayern Munich to come to the negotiation table. Because before this, Bayern Munich were refusing to negotiate for Kimmich. They said he's not for sale. But if the player says, I want to leave, then Bayern Munich would be forced to negotiate. And this could play in favor of Barcelona, who could try to sign the German player to reinforce our midfield. Anyways, that is all the news for today. Again, I'm out of town, so this is why I'm making these short live streams, just to keep you updated. No discussion with the chat section. But I will be back home by Friday. By then, we'll be back to my regular schedule. But again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your likes, subscriptions, and your comments. I will see you in the next live stream. I'll try to do another one tonight. If not, definitely tomorrow. But I will see you in the next video. And as always, Visca Barça.